Mike's alive.
Video's on? Alright, we're going to call to order the September 9th Parks Commission meeting. First order of business is Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Right. We just got done with our work session, which is very productive. I want to thank everyone for your participation and thoughts and good stuff going forward here. So, first, we have a short agenda tonight. We've got basically two things on the agenda. Can I get a motion to pass the agenda?
I make a motion to pass the agenda.
Okay, second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
First order of business is approval of the minutes from our, I don't know what date that is, but August commission meeting. Anyone have any edits or questions about the meeting minutes? Okay.
I propose we accept the minutes as stated.
Okay. Second? I'll second that.
I second.
Okay, Molly will second that. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Passes. All right, we will have, open it up to public comment. If the audience wants to talk, got 3 minutes per person, please.
Seeing as I'm the only public here, I'll go first. Jane Igar, 1386 Rest Point Road. And I'm here specifically to ask Mr. Roath why he's still sitting up there. I don't know why you haven't resigned yet. You have violation after violation after violation of your property. You built into your neighbor's property. I mean, this has been going on since 2017, 18, whenever you put that shed on your property illegally to violate the average lakeshore setback, potentially a side yard setback. And, you know, I understand that maybe things are a little bit more lax with certain people in this community prior to the current administration, but they enacted a code of conduct. And your behavior violates that code of conduct in numerous ways. You're a community leader. I saw you sitting up here making excuse after excuse after excuse as to why you have so many violations. It's a little frustrating because city staff has been, I guess, in my opinion, coddling you, trying to work you through this to solve these problems. When other people, like me, my wife, and others in the community have been criminally prosecuted for less than you have done. As I said, I don't know why you're still here. I don't know why you well, I suppose I do. But it's time to look in the mirror and understand that you don't get to have special treatment, that as a community leader, you have to excel above others. And excelling above others doesn't mean 1 or 2 code violations, or maybe 10 code violations like you have. To me, it's really time for you to step down and do the right thing. And, you know, I'm not the only one who thinks this. I've talked to numerous people in the community who are all still questioning why you're still up here. And you know what? You have choices, and you can choose not to. And if you choose not to, move on, and let us bring someone up here who doesn't, or hasn't violated the code of conduct over and over and over again, then I will be forced to use my channel for what I'm good at doing, and what worked for me for the last election. Informing the community about what's going on, what the violations are, and letting people know, and letting people come up here themselves and let you know. So I'm ready to do that, but I thought I'd come up here first and give you an opportunity, save us all a bunch of hassle and embarrassment, and choose to move on. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, close public comment. Move to staff report. Adam, I think, is giving the Hackberry staff report today.
So, hello Commission. Today, what I plan to do is just give basically the same update I gave to the City Council at their last meeting on where we stand with the Hackberry Park rehabilitation design update. I know Jacob and Janie have been intimately involved with that, so I'm just trying to give information to the rest of the Commission, as well as solicit any feedback you might have as we proceed through the design process. So. Just to start with, why are we working on this park? I know overheard you all in the work session before talking about reestablishing your processes and things like that for the commission. But those that went before you, spent a great deal of time thinking about this park and wanting to do things at this park. And so it's been identified for a long time that the park was not up to city standards. The equipment, the parking safety, dead and dying trees, the drainage in particular at the park has been a problem. And so that's driven kind of a long-term focus on the park, with community members consistently expressing interest in upgrades and improvements. And also an interest in the strategic interest of the city over the last decade or so. And one of the things is in 2016, the city did take out a life mortgage, estate mortgage, whatever it's called, where actually procured the property there that you see in the map at 140 Hackberry Hill was kind of the one remaining private parcel that kind of sat in the middle of the park. So we purchased the rights to that property in 2016 and then acquired it through that process in 2022. And that structures on that property were cleared in 2023, and then that kind of triggered then the Parks Commission and the city to begin trying to work on a planning process for what to do and how to improve the park as we went forward. In that first planning process, there was a copy of the summary of the report of what happened as the commission and city went through the master plan process. But as it went through, that just kind of summarizes what was expressed and what was proposed and kind of how we went about it. So again, those same issues, parking, drainage, and safety were the primary drivers of doing some work at the park. Throughout our process there, we had 3 listening sessions, engagements with the community out at Hackberry Park. We also engaged with the various stakeholders. You can see some listed there, the Baseball Association, lacrosse, flag football, soccer, and then had briefings to the commission and the city council who ultimately then adopted that master plan report. And so coming through that process and also just gathering the data that we gathered over the years leading up to it, the proposed park improvements you can see listed there in blue. At that point was keeping at least 1 ball field, keeping the sledding hill, keeping planting trees, safer parking, establishing a multi-use field, including pollinator plants and other environmental or native species, I should say. Make sure we maintained some picnic tables, did some stormwater improvements, improved signage, provided a restroom or a shelter area of some kind, and also tried to make the park more ADA accessible for those mobility issues. So that concluded in 2023, and then so at the beginning of this year we entered into a design process. We entered into our design process. We got approval from the city council to begin that, and also engage our consulting engineering firm to begin that process and work through that with us. One of the things in the interim period between the ending of the master plan process and this design process is we heard there were still some things out there as far as kind of the overall layout and plan of the site that needed to be addressed. So we formed a committee, a design committee, looked and developed some alternative layouts, and then did some community engagement, which I think you all should be aware of. We did both an in-person event out at the park itself, as well as an online feedback mechanism survey to gather that public input. Just there, I have to help drive some of that. The committee developed 3 layouts. One, which was the layout coming out of the master plan and then 2 different alternative layouts. And you'll notice with the first 2 layouts you can see there's inclusion of 2 baseball, t-ball type facilities. And that was driven largely by hearing back that we wanted 2 bespoke t-ball facilities included in the design. So we took those 3 out and to drive some feedback. See here the top 3 themes of concern: parking, both the location and the size of the parking. Having baseball fields, the quantity and locations was a big driver of discussion, and the desire to have a multi-use field, how big it should be, how many there should be, and where we should put it. So kind of got some common themes there. The details of that survey responses should have been in your packet. They're currently on the project page on our website for the project if you wanted to dive into some more details there. So from that, from feedback from those sessions, we then kind of took that back and then came up with this layout that you see on the left side of the screen for Hackberry Park. You can see the updated layout. The focus is there. Kind of the theme was keeping green space available while providing safer parking and youth sports playing options. A couple of the key things you can see in the layout is we have the 2 t-ball, baseball field locations. We have a open space for athletic open space for field sports. And then I did include, there's a couple variations of that same plan, not variations, but just different ways of depicting how athletic fields might be laid out. Those aren't meant to be not necessarily that's exactly how it will be, but to show the various possibilities depending on what type of youth athletic sports we want to use the site. And from this, in essence, what we can support on both baseball and the athletic sports side of things is we're looking at those all U10, 10 and under age group sports, both t-ball, which is below that, and then cross soccer and flag football spacing would work in those spaces. There's a couple of you might get a U12 to fit in there, but you won't. And I mentioned that because there was a lot of the feedback focused on how ensuring that we're not creating a sports complex for adult sports or to augment the high school type activities, and that it would remain as a youth sports focused entity, which is what it is now, and what the kind of proposal of the layout is going forward.
May I ask a question now, or would you prefer at the end?
If it's about the layout now, I've got some follow-on slides about process and timelines and stuff.
Oh, yeah. So wherever I see a sports field sort of earmarked, a potential field, are we leveling that land? So the land, I mean, how much change in the typography will take place to accommodate all of those potential sports fields?
So the exact grading is something that we work out as we go into the detailed design now.
Yeah.
But in general, yes, we will be leveling the area, regrading the sports field area, largely looking to improve the drainage that we have. We have some localized low spots that we need to fill, so we can get the drainage to work correctly. And so just in general scheme of the way the existing grades work, and I'm sure you're being out there, this area up here is a high spot that sits in some areas 4 to 6 feet higher than the rest. So, big picture, we'll be borrowing material from that area, from the high area, to fill in the low areas. But it won't be all flat. There will be, as an example, there will still be a slope coming from this corner of the park to this corner of the park, which is not too different than like what we have on our Peter Athletic Field. It might look flat, but it's actually has
Yeah,
a reasonable grade as you go across it, so. One of the things that, and I know people keep talking about, one of the things that, just to hopefully alleviate some concerns is, I don't know if this, when we show this 10 by 100 foot, 150 foot field space, I don't know if that will exactly fit that tight up into that corner when we're all done. So one of the things that, as we work with the detailed plan, that we really work to avoid is having to have any retaining walls or anything like that, where we have a really radical change.
Yeah.
Both because it's not suitable for what we're trying to do, but also it's very costly.
Yeah.
So we try to keep costs on what we do.
So I'd like just to share that as the subcommittee for the Hackberry Park, we haven't really been comfortable with saying that this is our preferred design. So as from a planning parks commission perspective, we do really appreciate though that we feel like the design is definitely moving in the right direction, but we actually have not, as a parks commission, have not gotten to the comfort level where we would advise this exact plan. Speaking of principles that we're trying to do as far as making beautify our parks, looking towards nature, making them useful for all residents, we would like to see in general the east section of the park a little bit more devoted to environmental peaceful space, and the west, like the Willow section, it's already utilizing youth sports very well, and we do appreciate and understand the concerns and want to find that best solution. I think we keep getting closer. I'm not sure if we're all the way there yet. My counterpart isn't here tonight, so I don't want to speak on her behalf. She's got some good ideas. But the nice part is, and I think if you look in the lower right corner, that's probably the closest. The parking issue, unfortunately, there is no perfect solution in solving Hackberry parking problems. And so that makes it tough. There's probably not going to be a choice that will make everyone happy. This is probably has gotten close. There is another good idea out there that could be considered. But what's nice about the current Hackberry layout, as it is just simply it provides the largest multi-use field space. It maintains the east end of the park for the residents and for more casual uses. And the sports commission presidents of the different associations are very comfortable with that. People do see need for improvement, but just a little bit of concern with tree removal. There is a concern with speed on Willow, but we wonder if there's other ways to address that, and things of that nature. But bottom line, I think we're moving in the right direction. Things are looking better, but the Park Commission Subcommittee for Hackberry does not feel that we're kind of at that end piece. And maybe with the final thought of just being sure that we want a more beautiful park when we're done with this. And there will be significant grading with the planning here. So we don't want to underestimate what that's happening. And I think Janie and I went out to the park together and we looked at how nice and large the multi-use field is. And we looked at how nice the greenery is on the east end. And we envisioned some, improvements. And unfortunately, we haven't really seen some of those ideas come to light quite yet, and we'd like to keep working towards that.
Which is exactly what we're doing.
Perfect.
And in that we can talk about process, because I think there's been some. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, building on that, percentage-wise, how much of the surface is going to have earth moving? Like half of the surface? It's got quite a difference. So if you can estimate, looking at that picture, is half of that going to have earth moving? On the top half, the north side? Just estimate?
I don't know about a percentage, but so if you
25% to a third.
Easily, probably more than that. The vast majority, everything, in essence, except for the area around the playground, the basketball field. So this, the south west corner is an area where we're not proposing any
So the rest of it would have some earth moving adjustment or?
Yep. Either we're going to be breaking ground to get to the storm sewers that are run underneath the park, or to get the new stormwater system in place, to get the parking in place, to get the field space redone, to get the infrastructure that supports the fields, fencing, backstops, infield, all that kind of stuff. That there will be a reasonable amount of land disturbance. And how much of it, how deep every place goes will vary. And that's why we look for coming up with a layout that is approvable, so that we can now enter into that detailed design where we start working on those things, like exactly how much dirt do we need to move, exactly where do we need to adjust parking and other things to mitigate tree impacts, where can we maximize some use of native plantings and those sorts of things. So we're at the very preliminary stages of this process, and I'll go through some timeline stuff with you here in a second, and maybe that'll help kind of lay some of that out. So. Okay.
I apologize, I have some babysitter struggles with my daughter and my right side of town, so I'm not going to get later. Sorry.
You owe me.
Can you, Adam, can I jump in here? And maybe Jacob, because you're on the subcommittee, can you guys talk about the parking capacity? I know that there was some concern about maybe.
So we're looking to establish max parking availability of 50 cars, which is about what we need to support 2 simultaneous T-ball events happening at one time.
And that's what we see here?
Yes, between
the lot.
So when we talk about parking, so a couple facets of the parking as the layout envisions is, and what we heard from the residents is, Jacob mentioned, is pushing parking, the formal parking, if you will, parking lot stuff, as far to the east as we could. And so that's why it's shown here. We've also been trying to minimize the amount of hardcover, asphalt hardcover that we do, and that's why in this particular layout we show a one-way configuration with the angle parking as a means of narrowing up the amount of asphalt that we have to use. And we also use a configuration where we don't have multiple turn movements trying to come out onto the main road, which is little. So that's why this is over here. This I think is, I suppose I had notes on my other layout, but I think we're like at 28 or 30 spots as shown here. Again, as we go through the detailed design and we actually do survey quality layouts, that may change by a couple of slots. We may extend or narrow or shorten depending on how we need to mitigate the trees and where we have to put the storm ponds and all that sort of stuff. So we'll work that stuff. But in overall concept then, that is augmented by additional, call it like overflow parking along the secondary roads, Elm, Maple, and Hackberry, and achieving that by doing some method of called grass paver, where you still have a vegetated surface, but it's reinforced so that when vehicles do pull over, you don't get excessive lighting and things like that, which is kind of the condition we have out there currently. Is when folks parallel park along the road, they often pull partly off and end up with some lighting. So part of the idea is to give some designated areas where that overflow parking or that off-street parking can occur, and that in conjunction with some potential no parking zones on the opposite side of the road would then drive in park visitors to the park side and also leaves then the drive lanes clear for both the other users of the road, the residents, and emergency vehicle access should that ever be needed. And that is one of the concerns we've heard over the years was that because it's not really laid out in any designated way, at certain times people just park haphazardly both sides of the road, maybe not leaving enough of a clear lane in the middle. People hodgepodge park all over and go over Hackberry off of Willow Drive. So by creating this bespoke areas for people to park, we'll look to eliminate that randomness and then also drastically improve the safety. The other thing, just talk about with the concepts that are included in this layout, is if you notice in the previous version, we had kind of baseball fields options everywhere. The one theme that we heard from the residents and the folks that responded to our query was we'd rather have all the built-up stuff, except I guess for the basketball court playground, which is already there, but all the built-up stuff that we're doing on the Willow side of the park. And so we reoriented, there were some options where we were looking at this baseball field, having home plate over in this corner and what have you. And we moved those all over, because we did hear from residents, hey, we don't want to look out our front door and look immediately into the back of the backstop. Because the backstop fence will sit up higher and all that sort of thing. So trying to be cognizant of that, and then also a little bit of noise, the crack of the bat is on the far side of the park, as opposed to the near side of the park where the predominance of the residential uses. So other aspects of just the layout and the concept that we're looking at. So one thing, again, is overall drainage and grading. We do depict storm ponds, rain gardens on the plan, which we'll have to do regardless. We have to do that to meet our permitting requirements as we look to gain our permits from the MBCA and the Watershed District and the other regulatory agencies. And right now, again, it's a layout that's templated as we go through an actual detailed stormwater design, the exact size of them will vary. We think we've been conservative in just how we show them here, but they may be a bit smaller, they may be a little bit different shape to help with that. And also, the one concern we did have here on those is there was some thought originally on some of the plants, we showed them in blue, and here we try to show them in off green. So when we talk about rain gardens and storm ponds, these are not envisioned to be have standing deep water in them year round. They dry out. You have a big high intensity rain event. Yes, they fill up for a while and they go down as the water evaporates, soaks into the ground or moves on throughout the drainage system. And then we also see these as a great opportunity for us to kind of showcase some of the things that you can do for the environment. So this is the area where you have native plantings for the rain garden, and then trying to tie some of that stuff in with informational signs about this is what this is here to do. These are the different kinds of plants you can see here, and this is how it all works. You may have seen other examples of that. I know Three Rivers has Baker Park with Broadway, where we walk past some of those ones that have some signs that explain what they do. What else? We do depict trees on here, and one thing I want to be careful with trees is they're just there notionally right now. Again, the goal as we do detailed work is to limit any impacts on existing healthy trees. But at the same time, there was an identification we need to reestablish some of the canopy in the park. And so as we do that, one of the specific design elements that we have to go do more detailed work with a landscape architect to figure that out. The one thing I do want to caveat that on is we have over the years had arborists and what have you go and survey these trees, and for the most part, we do not have a healthy canopy in Hackberry Park. There are very few trees, mature trees, that are actually super healthy. There are a couple, and we'll work to keep those alive and worked into the plan. But just as an example of the trees along Willow, the vast majority of them are ash that are in advanced decay. And there's several maples over there that look okay right now, but when we took a deeper look at them, they have cavity rot and some other things going on. So,
Adam, I would just say those trees don't look that bad to me, and so when we get the arborist, we want the person to lean in to save the trees, not to help get rid of them.
sure.
They're looking good. I'm sure I know there's a few dead ones, but the way you're talking about taking trees out, I feel like you think there's more to take out than to leave? And I think there's probably more to leave than take out from a tree health perspective.
Yes, there are a bunch that are, and just the way it works out, there are a bunch of fairly healthy ones up around the playground that yes, we're not going to touch. There's some healthy ones over along Elm, and there's like one or two along Willow that when we did had our arborist out to take a look. So
That would seem like a questionable assessment, but I'd second what you're saying, Kim. That's a big concern.
I just have to defer to the professional.
And there's a hackberry tree.
How's something in the northwest corner?
Some other aspects in the layout, we don't necessarily show exactly where the template, but we will figure out where to put the bike racks, picnic tables. There's a desire, I know there's a desire to have a mix of fixed picnic tables and mobile picnic tables. And I got an earful from at least one of the residents the whole time I was standing there for the open house about not taking away their 4 mobile picnic tables they have. So we may replace them, but we will leave some semblance of seating and table availability for the community to use. The other things, to talk about too is one of the things we will do as we go into the more detailed design and as we go through the iterations of coming back to both the design committee and then ultimately the city council when we're looking to get a board approval and what have you, is this project, we're showing a lot of things on the layout. Not all of them are necessarily going to be funded all in phase 1. So one of the things we will be looking at is a phasing of the project. The biggest example I give is, I don't know for sure, but I'm guessing we won't be in a position to build a formal restroom / shelter structure in the first round. I'm guessing we won't have the funding initially for that. But as we were talking about in your work session, we're showing on a plan where when the time comes to have one, if that's still the plan, this is where it goes. And so we will probably do things like, if we're thinking of having a formal restroom there, is ensuring that we have run the water and sewer connections somewhere near where that would be so that they're available at such time as that would go in. And so, and that again goes back to, yes, we will be disturbing the ground to do that, but that's all part of our normal construction process. And then the other thing we heard about is a lot of talk about preserving the existing space up here by basketball court, sports court, and existing playground. In general, keeping that area as it is, and in particular, keeping the sledding hill as it is. So we don't have any immediate plans here. We did also hear some comments, hey, we, in the future we need to look at upgrading playground equipment, or that basketball court probably needs a resurfacing and things like that. So yes, we have some of those kind of more maintenance-like items, but as far as any significant change there, it was not something that we were hearing a lot of feedback in favor of. So we do not have anything complicated for that. I just throw this slide to show kind of existing versus proposed. Just to kind of highlight some of the concerns and why we're doing some of the things we're doing. Again, is this field stays kind of the same but moves in. It's been a safety concern for the Baseball Association for years with this proximity to Willow. In fact, they had us pull out the benches like 5 years ago and said, "Don't put them back in until we move it." Heard that. You can kind of see from this old aerial image these dark spots. A lot of these dark spots kind of coincide with where we have drainage problems in the current park system, where we're trying to deal with that. And then you can see the drainage problem happening alongside Willow Road because there's a huge mud puddle next to where the gravel parking is today. So cost and funding estimates. So we've gone through a couple iterations of this, and this is again one of the things that now that we kind of have a rough layout, we start working on detailed design where we start refining our numbers. So when we completed the master plan in 2023, the total for the project is shown there. I just copied it in there. Was about $1.1 million in total. That includes 15% contingency. So you know exactly how prices are going to change and that sort of thing. That's what that's there for. But again, we'll be switching from this slightly, and again, some of those things will likely be phased. So even as we were looking at preparing the CIP and trying to come up with some estimates, we thought we were probably looking around $195,000 for construction for what we think we would do, at least in a phase 1 project. And again, we'll refine that and itemize it more now that we kind of know what it would look like. And just so you all know, this is more of a thing for the staff and the city council to worry about funding. You know, a project like this will be funded from many different sources. So we have the city has a parks fund, which is where we do the preponderance of capital projects in parks. But this also impacts our overall stormwater system. So we have a fund that's set up for that. So we would be drawing some funds from there. We're looking at grants. I'm preparing a grant application right now for Hennepin County that has a max out at $300,000 for those grants, and then it has a series of smaller grants that we might apply for. Working with our partners. In the past, we've worked well, particularly with the Baseball Association. I haven't got any commitments from them yet, but I have some meetings set up with them to talk about what appetite they have for some of the improvements. In the past, we partnered with them on things that were particular to baseball fields, like backstops, side fencing, those sorts of things. And then donors, I don't know what appetite, if any, the 501c3 has to support a project like that. But that's been a funding source in the past.
Question about funding trees. Will tree removal be funded through these avenues, or would that be come out of the tree fund?
So for this project, so we don't have a separate tree fund in the city. So for a project like this, the funding for that would, if the tree removal and planting is included in the project, it would come from these funding sources we have listed here. But that said, there are several trees within that park that we know we have to remove now. There's some dead ones right now. And I would imagine that we will probably be removing those before we get to construction on the project. In that instance, then they come out of our operating budget, in which the parks, we have a tree operating budget that's being closed for 2026 is $50,000. Tree removal replacement for 2026 in the operating budget. So and then the other place to tap is some of those trees along Willow. If we have to take any of those in the near term, those sit in the Willow Drive right away. And so we, within our city streets budget, we also have an operating budget within there to deal with some streets. So we'll be kind of looking at some of those.
It's a good thing to add those trees, because you'll want to plant substantial trees as part of this cost. Wouldn't it be part of this project when you put the new trees in?
Yes, so if we do it as part of the project, then the funding would come out of these funding sources.
Okay, so it's
If we're
added to this list
yes.
of things that are going to cost us more.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
She's asking to make sure that
Yes.
adding trees is in scope for the project.
Yes, and right now we have landscaping, with an estimate of $10,000. That was from the master plan. So as we look at that more and we sit down and we get to we'll talk about process in a minute, but we get to the more advanced design reviews, and that's what we'll be saying, hey, is this 5 trees, is this 10 trees, is this...
Yeah, well, I think you heard from the council, and you're hearing from us, we like trees.
Yep.
I just want to make sure it's on the top of your mind.
We all love trees.
Yeah.
We're as a city, we're struggling right now because we're becoming overwhelmed by the animal dashboard situation we have throughout our community and throughout the state.
A question before you move on. the 2023 plan and the 2025 CIP. Is the only difference between those is that you've pulled some out for a second phase? Like for instance, you probably pulled out the shelter building.
Pulled out shelter building, I pulled out things like the dugouts, saying, well, we probably won't build dugouts, we might put some benches in, but something like a dugout is something that we would, if the Orono Baseball Association, as an example, really wants a dugout, then that's kind of where we'd say, okay, well, we consider it, but, that's maybe not something we're going to use city resources on. Got it. So that's one thing that I went, when I did the CIP last fall update, I went through and kind of looked through those kind of things. Are these essential to get this park from where it is now to take care of those key issues that we identified earlier, or is it more of a kind of a nice to have or follow-on thing that we might do later? So try to separate those things so that we can focus on what do we have to do in phase one of a project to get the kind of the minimum things done. So next steps, where we go from here is, so now that we have kind of the draft layout approved by the council, what we're looking to do is working on detailed design. So there in the blue kind of is the major steps of what we do. And this is part of any project design that we do in the city, whether it be a park or a big road project or a utility project or what have you. So now we're going to go work on detailed grading and site plan. First thing is you'll see in the next couple of weeks if you go around that the surveyors will be out actually taking actual survey shots. Everything that we've done to date on layout and stuff has just been from imagery and from LiDAR data and stuff like that. That's kind of general in nature. So now we get the survey level data. This is exactly where that tree is and exactly what kind of tree it is, and this is exactly where the stormwater is and all that sort of good stuff.
So the council has approved?
Yep, just layout is a concept.
All right.
And I'd just like to interject one more time on the, from a Parks Commission perspective, that while we do feel that it has been moving in the right direction, and I do want to correct myself, I think my sense of direction might have been off earlier, east and west, I don't know when that was. But, having that remaining, keeping the west end, the residential end, more scenic, and we do think of that as good potential from the south corner, where the playground is, all the way up to the north corner. So, kind of exploring some better opportunities there. And then the other, major piece is the parking and just some consideration of still some alternative ideas, even though I think what we have there is an improvement, and it will be, up to council to decide what is the best design for parking, but there are other options available, and we feel should be considered or at least looked at.
So we start working on the grading plan. We need to do the utility design, which will predominantly be stormwater. And again, we have stormwater pipes that run underneath this park, both to serve the park, but also to serve the broader area of the community. So we need to work detailed sports field design, and we will do that in conjunction with our partners. We need to do a detailed landscape design, and again, that's where we start really looking at. Yes, we love the trees. So how do we accomplish those things that we've heard from you and from the council? I mentioned the cost estimating. So as we go through that process, we continually try to estimate and refine our costs, and then we initiate the work that we need to do on the permitting process.
I was just going to say that isn't in the packet, the public packet. So is there a way to get a copy of that, or?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to make that point. This is not what was in the packet. What was in the packet was the old original one with the road going through the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that served anyone's purpose to have that in the packet, because this is new to look at.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to just make that a point of record that we get what you share ahead of time so we can look at it.
Okay, all this stuff should be in the packet or on the website somewhere.
Might be on the website.
Except for these slides, yes,
Yeah.
I abbreviated some of the stuff that's available.
Well, if you
in
look
other
at the
places.
agenda, the Hackberry project master plan is the old one. The
Yes.
one- Yeah, so
Yes,
that,
we very deliberately wanted you to have that.
but this is not what we got.
Okay, my slides, yes.
Yeah, can we not get those ahead of time?
I did these, I updated these today, but yes.
Well, it's just better, for me, I operate better if I have a little time to read something and then think of questions.
Sure.
So if you could take that under consideration.
Sure.
And then secondly, I don't see the park commission anywhere in this design. And that surprises me. Don't you think the park commission should be part of the process, not just the subcommittee with Jamie and Jacob?
Sure, I can address that here in a minute, how we
Okay.
do those processes, but.
Thank you.
So we will initiate our permitting process. And then the other thing, running in conjunction with that is beginning to work on the resourcing. So then as those are kind of the main themes, and then as we look forward into how we do a design process, kind of the next deliverable from the consultant will be what we call a 60% design. And that is we will have our next kind of iteration of did we capture all the things that we're hearing from the various stakeholders, the commission, the council, and we do a review there. And at that point, that's when we've been able to go collect the survey data and actually put pen to paper and start putting these preliminary plans together. Right now, we've asked the consultant to be able to bring that back to the city in November.
60%?
60%. And then the next phase in our standard kind of design, big piece of the design review process, the next stage we get to is what's called the 90% review, and that's the last review we normally do on a design and layout before we really cut the consultant loose to put together spec books and all these other things that we need to do to go out for a bid. And so that's kind of like it says, we're at 90%. Hopefully there aren't a ton of corrections at that point, but that's when we do yet another design. And one of the things I added from what I briefed the council on to use, just to kind of give you off on the side there, who's normally part of that process. So in those two design reviews for staff, obviously we'll be doing our checks we need to do. We'll be bringing the design committee back together to ask what they think about that. And then as well as our various stakeholders, and by that I mean we'll be reaching out to the City of Orono Baseball Association.
And the
Do
commission.
we get the fencing?
And you're going to put the commission there too.
I can provide you an update. We don't normally run all our design reviews by full committees.
So what will our role be going forward then? On this park, decisions that are made, et cetera?
For the Hackberry Park project, other than giving us input, really nothing. The decisions at this point sit with the city council when we get ready to go out for bid and when we get to award. So
But the park commission does provide advice and counsel to the city.
yes,
So it'd be nice to be able to have an opportunity to do that beforehand rather than after the fact.
sure. So then we'll look design, scope, approval, and phasing. So that's after we've got through this, we go to the council and say, this is where we are, we want to go out for bid. Staff and consultant prepare the bid packet, specifications, and all that, finalized permits. That goes out for bidding. Right now, if we had the resourcing in place and the design is all good to go, we'll be looking at doing that in the March, April timeframe of next year. Trying to get an award before the council in the end of April, May timeframe that will allow for a construction season of next summer. Now, that's if everything comes together. If not, then you kind of look to construction season. It's basically June to the end of October each year. So that's where we're trying to fit a project. We would want to try to fit this project so we do one construction season.
And you think it's conceivable that we could do it in 2026, construction?
If the resourcing comes there, yes.
In some respects, it seems that some maintenance issues have been put aside. Hey, we're waiting because we're going to do a big, we don't want to do it twice.
Right.
That kind of thing. if we gotta wait till 2026, some of the inventory that's been done of issues there, even reflect on safety. Do you have plans to go back in there prior to this to fix any of those things, or what?
Yeah, well, some of them, like there's some trees that have been identified for
Yeah.
removal that we'll do regardless of the project. There's the routine maintenance that Joe and his crew do, of course, and then we have to work with, example like with the baseball association on particular pieces of infrastructure. There's something you can do to, rebury a concrete foundation for a fence post or something like that to tide us over until we do the overall project. The things. When we talk about deferring things, it's things like replacing all the fencing around the baseball field, replacing the backstops, or replacing the benches along the baseball fields.
Well, a lot of those things you can see from the highway, when we drive by in Bill, the backstops are.
Yep, they've heaved and all that kind of stuff. Yep.
Yeah.
And normally, like on those kind of things, like we did a project at Peterwood maybe 8 years ago or so. And we typically, and that's where I get the example of having worked with the baseball association. So like we replaced a bunch of fencing, the backstops and stuff like that around that ball field. We partnered with them, got a grant from Hennepin County. The grant covered half the cost. We pay for a quarter of the cost of the city, and the baseball association paid for a quarter of the cost. So we did stuff like that. But in all my interactions with them over the ensuing years is we don't want to spend any money on either we, the city, or they, the baseball association, or Hackberry, until we can deal with the bigger issues of drainage and getting the fields moved away from the road and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, as long as the safety concerns are taken care of, I guess.
Yeah, it's like the individual trip hazards or trying to pull the fence back together. Yeah, it's better we all. What can we do to band-aid it together until we get to this point? Because again, we don't want to have to spend money twice. And then, just to kind of answer your questions about process, so over in the bottom right is kind of the parks process for park projects, and so just developed this a few years ago to kind of explain who does what when as we go through a big process. So, one of the biggest parts of the Parks Commission roles in this is way at the front, is at the visioning and the master plan piece of our parks process. What are the goals? What's the community saying we should do at a particular park, and evaluate prioritizing those things. I know you're just talking about that at your work session, so we get a lot of input there. And, the staff, we sit there, we advise the commission, we provide administrative support, we provide estimates for what do we think the priorities will cost, and then we start trying to put those onto planning documents and those sorts of things. Then normally, and like in this project, we do some kind of master planning exercise, which is what we're referring to what's in your packet from 2023, and look for the Parks Commission to participate in that, review that, be part of that process, be engaged in open houses, and as be one of the collectors of public community input into this as an interface with the community. So gathering all that in the meantime, staff, the budget stuff, preparing the documents, coordinating consultants, working with our sister agencies that might be involved in that. Then now here we are in design, and normally we look at we participate in the design team, give us some comments and review on the design, and in the meantime, as you mentioned, staff out trying to get grant money, trying to coordinate and get the design technical aspects all done, completed. And then, I guess I failed to mention, because we're commissioned, but, and then the city council has significant things that they have to do in each of these processes in order for it to keep moving along. And then we get in a project that keeps moving, we go to build it. Not a ton for the commission during those. Usually in the past, we've had, it usually ends up being whoever was on the design committee might, come out with us a few times as the project's going on, maybe just a voice of, hey, I'm seeing this, is this what we we said, is this contractor doing what we're supposed to be doing, that kind of stuff. And then, I guess I didn't put it on here, but one of the things that the commission's also helped us with on the builds is at the end of the build, putting together and usually we host some kind of ribbon cutting and getting the community re-engaged in the whatever it was that we produced. And then the other big thing is we need the support of the Parks Commission as we go through this design phase. And do we have the right resourcing available to maintain what we just spent a lot of time, effort, and money building, so that we can take care of it into the future. And we just recently had discussions on that. And so that kind of where we normally look for the Parks Commission involvement.
I have a comment on this.
Sure.
And it maybe is something that requires further discussion at a later date, but I think that we believe that one role of ours is to advise the council. And there's nothing in here that speaks to that. And I think that in this particular circumstance, this work went to council before the commission could approve and look at it and provide input. And that feels backwards to me.
Agreed.
So if that is not what our role is, then we change that. But I think that we want to see things before they go to council so that we make sure that what is going to council is, what were my words,
We can
is
speak to it and
we can speak to
Support
it and support it.
I think in this case, the special committee was working very diligently, and I think the city worked, very well with us, to a certain degree. Certainly worked well with us. But we just were not able to get to that point. And really, as the subcommittee working hard on that and making good progress, we did have, in our last meeting, we kind of discussed it, but not to the point where we could come, certainly as a commission, to say, you know what, this is a better park for Orono. And I think we're getting, right now we might not have as good of a park with this specific plan as it is than we have right now. We do need improvements. I am fully appreciative of, our baseball backstops, our dilapidated benches are old. This park needs some help. And we just want to do it the right way. And I think, being on the commission, we're all, and you yourself, we all have the best interests of Orono Parks, but as commissioners of the park, we'd really like to have that opportunity to kind of share, our best views for that park, with considerations to youth sports, because I've got children and others have had and whatnot. Kids will be playing in all the different types of sports, and neighborhood kids that are just using it. So, we are going to get there for sure. But as a commission, the subcommittee never even got to fully get buy-in from the full committee, and then certainly never was able to express any type of advisement to council. And so, and I do know you're working diligently and hard, and you do see some timelines. And I don't want to miss some timelines either, because I don't want to have, dilapidated backstops forever. I want us to see progress. But I want to make sure that that the vision that the commission sees as best for the City of Orono is at least shared with the City Council.
Absolutely. And again, I just want to reiterate, we're at the very beginning of that process. So that's what I was trying to show here is that the committee are not done.
Yeah, well, potentially, which I think, it sounded earlier that we were done until after the 60% design review. We might be able to, make quite a bit of progress. Maybe that get across, the goal line or whatever you want to call it, before that. So especially before November with some, I think it's good to get feedback from the council to see what they were really thinking, and do they have different ideas on a couple of the concerns that we have as park commissioners.
So again, and maybe there's been some confusion because we did this one differently than we normally do. So
Yeah.
we added an interim step that we normally don't have in this design process because the council had asked us to go, hey, look at the layout again before you get too far into detailed design. So that's all we've done so far. We're not done with design. So the commission's role in helping being a part of the design is, I mean, we're just starting. And even in the committee, just to talk about the committee a little bit, you know, we started getting to a point where we were getting asked questions or trying to do things that our detailed design work would get answered during that. And so we're kind of in a little bit of a catch-22 of, well, we don't want to approve the preliminary design because we don't have enough details, but we need to approve the layout before we can start doing the detailed design, which is the questions we're getting asked and the process we're trying to get into. So we're not done, but
Totally get that, totally get that, but I think our input is coming in after the fact.
Well, okay, so we'll take a stab at this. So these next steps here that Adam put up is kind of a generic list. Okay, this is maybe a typical list of how it works. In the past, we've done this, and I think that in this case, I think we should do this again, is that we would request that this come back to us, to the full commission, after the 60, or during the 60% design review step. Now, again, that doesn't happen all the time, but I think in this situation, because of the scenario, and I think that that would be a good thing to do. All along, I know that we'll have representation on there with our subcommittee, but I think that we all have now expressed an interest of being maybe a little bit more involved in this one and vested interest in this than maybe some of the other projects that typically.
yeah,
What is the timeline for like 60% review? When is that happening?
November.
Okay.
So we've asked the consultant to come back to us no later than the 1st of November to what we call 60% design, so that, again, so we can come to the design committee with actually something that we can make comments on and work things like, do we have a tree conflict? Do we have, you know, how can we accomplish this? Can we move the parking over here? Can we move the parking over there? And what does that cost us in terms of dollars and work effort and all those kind of things? So it's an iterative process. There is a point at which we have to take the initial inputs, which we have, and I don't think we're not going to get to any more level of detail in those until we get to that part of the process.
Okay.
So now it's the time again. We got to go, you know, a significant amount of the time between now and November is getting the survey work done, and that's got to get scheduled. The survey's going to spend a few days doing that, and that's got to be put into the CAD system back at the consultant. The consultant's got to, you know, get all that together, and they've got to take all the things that we've been telling them and say, take your first stab at getting all that stuff on a piece of paper so that we can bring that back to the review process.
And that would be the concern where, like, currently, the 60% design review is going to essentially have a lot of earth moving from northwest corner of Park, you know, distributed to improve drainage, where we do feel that we should try to consider some different options for that northwest corner, not the entire, but part of it, and share that with council, share that with all of us.
Yeah, you haven't shared
Yeah.
that with the commission.
We haven't even had much of a chance. I mean, this is moving fast, so I really don't think it's too much fingers that need to be pointed, but we need to have that opportunity. We just haven't had it yet. So
that's
whose
again.
ever fault, I don't know. I don't really blame anyone. It's going quick, and that's
So
all
at I don't know what date the November meeting is, but by that time, will the subcommittee be involved enough in the 60% review that something can come back to us in November. My concern is that obviously we don't have a January
I don't have the calendar.
or December meetings, so.
If you guys really want to see a 60% design at the commission level, certainly.
I think we're saying we do,
Yes.
so we can make that happen.
It just so you know, that'll be a very difficult process to have with like a whole commission.
My understanding at the end of the last park commission meeting,
The sub-team and those of us that can make it, so we make it easier for you.
my understanding at the last park commission meeting was that tonight was going to be the night we were going to be able to try to decide on what we thought was the right to advise on this park. That ended up happening at the council meeting, and so that happened. That's fine. But now the Parks Commission has never happened. Tonight was supposed to be the night we were going to determine what we felt was the best path forward for this park. And now we're doing this instead of that.
And again, the part of this process was to receive that input, so.
But
We've
we're,
only
Some of it, I'm now
Final
formally
approval,
sent
not-
my way, so I could.
yeah, I would just build on that. I had a statement I wanted to share. When we first had our orientation meeting, I asked you, Adam, what were the most important things we should think about as new commissioners. And 2 of those were following the process in Hackberry Park. As we move forward, I see a gap in following the process. Now, I understand from here that this project's further along than I realized, where you don't look for commission feedback because you're in that phase 3. However, I'm also here, you're not listening to the subcommittee, so that concerns me with what Jacob has said. Taking this project to the council ahead of the special meeting that we plan to have today to review that, compromise the process. The council gave the go-ahead last week, so any comments we have really could be not relevant because you got the go-ahead. And I just want to say that as the Park Commission received an email that coached us, but I almost felt scolded as to what we could ask questions about or not. We couldn't ask questions about usage, we could only ask certain questions that came out from Joe, but they were a message from you, what we could not talk about and talk about. So I have 3 key takeaways. Hackberry is a top priority for staff, I get it, loud and clear. There's a huge opportunity for all of us to reset how we're working together based on this conversation. And I hope the work, that you just caught the end of it, but I hope the work we started at the work session is that opportunity for us just to really work together. Because there's 4 people here that are new, and so I think maybe there could have been a way to honor that sea change on the commission with the Hackberry project, because it's a big project. So thank you for listening.
Can
The last point I want to make is I just want us not to forget the survey. So as we all think about what's coming, 64% of the survey respondents want playground and basketball. 48% want the sledding hill. 48% want to relax at the park. 42% want an open field to play in. Youth softball was 27%, and youth football, soccer, and I couldn't remember the other one was 29%. And I just don't want to lose that centering of this is a neighborhood park with some ball fields, and we always seem to be leading with the ball fields. Most of the feedback suggests to protect a lot of what it is there today. And I just want us all to remember that as we think about making decisions toward the 60% and the 90%, because I think we didn't honor that feedback as much as I'd like to, and that's good data. Thank you.
I ask a question? If I come up to the podium?
State your name and address, please.
Barbara Schmidt, 15 Landmark Drive. What is the deadline, Adam, for the grant?
For the
Because, yeah, for end of September. So guys,
Oh, yeah.
that's
We're
what's
aware.
driving this.
Right.
Absolutely.
Adam, how much of the plan has to be submitted, and how much of the plan that we submit has to be followed?
So you have to show what it is that you're asking for the grant money for. So you have to have, and a layout like we have is sufficient, or has been sufficient in past grant proposals, and a description as it build a grant thing. What do we want the Hennepin County grant money to pay for? So in this instance, because it's $300,000 cap. I've taken the things that out of this list before you and said, we are looking for the Hennepin County to assist us with the grading work that's needed for the sports fields, so that's the 2 T-ball fields and the athletic space in between, and some of the other things that go along with that. And so that's what we're asking for the money for. And then they will, so the way that the grant process works, you put in your application, if you're selected, then that's followed up, and the city council will enter into a contract with the county. It says, this is what you're doing, this is how much money you've been given, this is your reporting requirements, and this is how you submit your invoices and what have you for getting reimbursement for those dollars. These types of grants are all reimbursement grants, so the stick, if you will, is if you don't do what you said you were going to do for the grant, that when they gave it to you, and then you submit your invoices, that say, well, no, this doesn't comply with the agreement we had, so you're not getting reimbursed for this. So yes, you have to build what you say. Now, what in my experience we haven't had with like Hennepin County grants is you don't have to have the biddable level of detail on your design, because a lot of times cities will change, or schools or whatever will change slightly based on the funding they get. So if we don't get all the funding, maybe we don't do as much, or maybe we adjust some things.
But I think they're particularly interested in who this benefits.
Yes.
Because, so that can't change, right? If it's going to benefit a certain age and a certain type of user, then that can't change.
Correct. So we say this is a youth sports grant. So we understanding that the park has many facets. It's a community park as well as one of our 2 ball field parks. So as I write the grant, I focus on the youth sports aspect of the park because that's what the grant is for. So that's what we'll ask the money for, aspects that support the mission of the grant. Yeah. This is the exact same grant we used with Peterwood ball field. We were quite successful with that. Just one thing on some of your comments there. I want to make sure that there's no guidance or power for me as a city administrator to share what you say.
You should check the email that Joe sent us.
I think
I
understood he was trying to help focus the discussion, but
yeah, well, it sounded like it was coming from you, but Joe wrote the email, so maybe that was a miscommunication, but I didn't appreciate the tone of it.
Okay.
But maybe that's all it was a miscommunication, which I'd be super happy to hear.
Yes, well, I think from what you're saying it was, because we had some discussions about there are some aspects and concerns we've heard about operations, like how many nights a week will it be active and all that kind of stuff. And we kind of talked about it's not really a design thing, that's an operational thing. And this commission has in the past and has the ability to make recommendations to the city and the council on it. Well, okay, let's. It was that kind of example we use scheduling. So we say, hey, there's a problem on Wednesday nights for the community. We say, oh, guess what? We will not allow any scheduling of ball fields by any of these groups on Wednesday nights.
Yeah, I just think
things like that. There's some operational things we can still do.
But if you read it, you'll probably understand where
Okay.
we're coming from. And I'm happy to hear it was a communication gap. But words matter when you're reading the email. I mean, you get
Sure.
Thank you.
So some things that I've heard tonight, the desire, I think most of us, which we've heard before, but is a reiteration of trees. Understand? And again, we've got that. It's one of the reasons we want to move forward. We understand that, so that is one of the things we said we need to focus on as we move forward. And then, minimizing what we do to the western side of the park. So. And I don't know the details on the grading until we get that survey work done, and I can say, oh, can I fill in these low spots with a little bit of this, a lot of this, and then that's again decisions we'll make. It's like, well, okay, to get the grading to work, we need to take all of this and put a retaining wall in the corner, and that will drive us as we go through these iterative processes to say, well, no, that's not really what we're looking for, and then so we'll change the plan and say, okay, well, we're going to need to import more fill, or we're going to need to take other methods to achieve what we're trying to do. But
I think in addition to the grading on the northwest side, it's also the exploration of natural play. And what could that look like?
sorry,
A natural play area. And what could that look like? Versus another graded rectangular space.
when you say natural play, are you talking about like natural playgrounds, that sort of thing? Because that would kind of be a different, that would be inclusion of a different type of amenity in the park.
I was going to allude to that a little bit as far as not the specific use, but for that space, you know, for that to be left or addressed outside of this grant, you know. So this is a youth sports grant that you're applying for, and then just saying that northwest corner that we think we'd like to see that enhanced in some way, in a different way than youth sports, and I wonder if there's a way to try to accomplish that. That would be that's separate from a youth.
Yes,
sports
and that kind
grant.
of might fall into the same realm as like, you know, a shelter or something like that. If there's an aspiration to add, lack of something better, call it a natural playground of some kind, then yeah, no, if we want to put it in that corner, great. And then there are other processes and there are other, back on funding, there's Hennepin County has a playground grant. I'm not sure, I have to read the grant more rules if you know, natural playgrounds would qualify, but if they did, that would be another option for us to do seed funding in the future.
Yeah, I think Jacob said that well. So in terms of the grant, can we not be tied into that corner being part of the grant? Is that what you were?
Or the sports field.
The sports field?
Essentially, something to that effect, definitely.
So the grant application is not going to be necessarily that specific.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's nice information. And I think that's something that we would like to be able to make sure we can convey that a little bit more clearly and concisely, better than we can do sort of, you know, as we're sort of debating our way through kind of how the process is played out. And I do want to actually be very favorable in the fact that we have had meetings, multiple, and we have been moving dramatically in a good direction. And as a commission, we're just, as a subcommittee of the commission, because I don't have really everyone's plan, and we haven't even fully expressed, you know, exactly what we'd be hoping for, but that's what we'd like to be able to do as park commissioners and as a commission.
Are there any other slides?
No, that was it.
Okay, so let's make sure everyone has a chance to weigh in here. Mike?
Well, you know, I'm really not on the subcommittee, but I guess in terms of process, I don't think subcommittee should be going to staff or the city council and representing themselves as the entire park commission.
No.
I mean, they work together. I think when we finally will say, hey, this is what we want to do, it should be something that's brought and we've been able to talk about it. Now, normally, you'd think that you're going to err towards the subcommittee because they've been working on it, but I think as a non-member, I'd like to have the opportunities to hear about it.
So we have an opportunity here tonight to voice a vote, to make a vote in favor or opposed to this concept plan, right?
You can, but what would be much more helpful is providing input.
Okay, all right, so you're not looking for recommendations?
I'm not looking for a recommendation, we're ready to keep moving forward. What I'm looking for is input from this commission, so we can make sure we address the things that are important to the commission.
Specific input, okay.
So it is a
I mean,
challenging
you can do
process.
whatever down what doesn't help make it better.
Okay, all
I
right.
think what I would propose, we've been working really hard with Janie, and I think you've seen a lot of the ideas that she's proposed, and her and I haven't agreed on everything, and none of us will ever agree on everything, and that's fine, because that's just part of this whole process. And I definitely believe the whole commission should, have their say and input. And so I think to your request there, it would be very nice for, I think I'll take that first step with Janie. We've got a very good working relationship. We were at the park together, and I was like, we need to show ideas, and she was talking about schedules, and it was very productive, and we didn't agree on everything. And I would like to take that to this one step further, and then share that on a broader level, probably to the Parks Commission in its entirety, and hopefully we can get buy-in, and then share that, I guess, with council and city staff. So, and we're not super far away. It's just, but there are some fundamental things that we think shouldn't be brushed aside. So that's about it.
And so,
Okay.
is the subcommittee then going to want to add this to the agenda for our October meeting?
Well, unfortunately, I feel like,
Unfortunately,
with
Jamie's not
60%
here, if she
design,
has
I know,
somebody else,
yes. And she's got great ideas. I'm not sure what happened tonight, but and I don't think we were going to have a solution tonight. I did think that wasn't the original concept for tonight. I thought this was a special added meeting, but things got out of line.
Is it safe to say that there's room for input between the 60 and 90% design?
Absolutely.
So,
And I'm hoping this even before the 60.
well, they got to put
Yeah.
an application is in, we can't hold them up from that, but yeah, if there's opportunity to talk to them before that, I'm not sure that we can get consensus.
Unless you all are going to tell me we don't want two baseball fields and we don't want an athletic field in between. That's what
We want-
That's as far as you're gonna go.
Yeah, actually, nobody says otherwise on that.
Yeah.
It's parking, and it's the treatment of the west end of the park, and the parking solution is kind of
And trees.
Do you
Yeah,
know
I
what
can
Jacob
agree
and
with
Janie are proposing, Adam? When they talk about the parking in the west end? Like I
Yes.
say, Can that be addressed after the 60%?
It would be addressed with the 60%.
And
And
that
yes,
has to
you
be
know
addressed
exactly-
before the end of the month for that grant?
Oh, I'm not asking for dollars for parking lot from the county.
No, but when you do the grant by the end of this month, what's the non-changeable portions of that?
It's that we're going to do 2 baseball fields and an athletic space in
And everybody's aligned on that.
But maybe the athletic
Yeah.
thing might be that corner.
But
So
he's
it's
saying it doesn't matter, that's all he's saying is there's gonna be 2 T-ball fields and a field in the middle, which we have right now.
Okay.
That's all he's saying.
So that we
That's
can,
all
so
we-
that's
that's all
not
they hear right now.
60%. Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
And to be true, I will use this layout, a version of it,
Yeah.
in the packet for visualization, but again, they're not gonna go out and measure, oh, you said you were gonna put this baseball field
Got it.
at this square foot, and we moved it 10 feet over, we moved it
Yeah.
over here.
So we're good. We're
Because
good
some
for
of
that.
things changed.
I think
They're interested, are we taking public dollars that they're giving us and using it for the purposes that those dollars are?
Can you go back in the deck to the 3 panes that you had, the 3 different colors with lists? No, yeah, this one right here. I think you're asking us maybe to support the blue, right? And that's essentially
This is what came out of this is what the commission, this is just a summary, but this is what the commission, your predecessor, well, some of you, but your predecessors said were, what we needed to do. This slide was meant to summarize what's in that.
Yeah, so
that
what-
report is in your package.
what I'm hearing, and you guys jump in here, but I'm hearing that we support keeping the south baseball field
and the north.
and the north baseball field. Okay, maybe that's a difference there. Keeping the sliding hill, keeping and planting trees, safer parking, a soccer multi-use field, pollinators, plants, picnic tables, stormwater improvements, better signage, restroom and shelter area, maybe phase 2, and better ADA accessible. I'm in support of all of those things, including the north baseball field. So that's where
And I think we want consideration into the northwest corner. There's further exploration.
further exploration around the northwest corner. But as far as tonight goes, I think we're
Well,
aligned.
it's not, because if you don't ask for it in 60%, then it's not gonna happen, right? If you don't
This
ask for
this is
that
where I got tripped
exploration.
up. This is for the 2 baseball fields and a utility field. That's what Brian is supporting going forward.
Right, but I'm saying we should add that northwest corner.
Yes, and that's exactly the kind of feedback I need. So, yeah.
Great.
And just so you know, what we would do at this point is because we're just gonna kind of isolate some area and identify, hey, we need to leave this in a condition that we can do something in the future on. So don't advocate for something else. And then, so in other words, we create like a box or a bubble around it, and then, with the TBD, to be determined, but we know we can do some follow-on work for that in the future.
But that was maybe the
That's what.
dirt or whatever that we were gonna use to fill in.
Right.
That's where some of the concern comes from.
We may still move some dirt around, but we will leave a space there so that we can put something else there in the future.
So Adam, just a quick question that I had. When we apply for things with Hennepin County, do we use terms like it's going to be a soccer field, or do we leave it more generic so we don't lock ourselves in?
Use athletic field,
Okay.
baseball fields, and in the grant, like on the baseball field, I keep even more generic than that. It's baseball, softball, t-ball.
We do.
That's the function of the
Okay.
of the field. And then, obviously, in the grant, one of the big parts of our grant application is all of our partners telling us that's what they need, and they support this project. So,
Okay.
I've already got something from the cross, we'll be getting something from soccer, baseball, softball, to say, yes, we need help with this stuff. And then usually I also go to the community head at school to say, we also support this project, because all that stuff is what gives us points on the scoring criteria for the grant application.
Yeah, how many kids we could benefit in
Yes, exactly.
the scope of.
Yeah. And you may remember, Brian, because I know you helped, you were involved with the Peterwood. They changed their format, but it's basically the same questions.
Any other comments on Hackberry before we?
I just want to ask Jacob, are we clear on the next steps, that your satisfaction about getting together based on timing?
Yeah,
And that what has to be decided before we have another meeting in October?
so I guess my only question is somehow on the process, but quorums and things like that. So Janie and I will have to just kind of work this out a little bit, and talk about it, and then just send that to the entire group, I guess. I'm not exactly sure how the
I'm
process looks.
navigating that too, I'm just trying to think about it.
Quorums and things.
So you could share your thoughts with us, like Joe could send those out, so we're not having quorum problems in emails, and we could have that before the October meeting, so we could come to that meeting with some prep and questions, so we had some time to think about it.
And of course, we'd like the council to have that opportunity.
And they'll be here, someone will be here in October.
Yeah, in the normal scheme of things, your subcommittees should come back in a work session or a regular session, depending where you are.
Yeah, I think we just
say, this is what we've been thinking about, just like you guys did with your new initiatives for how you want to organize yourselves. You had subcommittee sat there and thought about it, bring it to a work session, hash it out some more, and then, eventually, you bring it to the whole commission in a formal setting, or a formal meeting like this to say, are we good? If it's something that's at your decision level, you just say yes, or is this something that needs to go to the council, so we're making a recommendation to the council and then we carry it forward.
And I think that was just the only problem. That's no one's fault. It was a very condensed timeline. We've had, a lot of new park commissioners, new subcommittee involvement, new information from stakeholders, all that kind of business. So, just.
Do you know if our October meeting is a work session or
It's a regular meeting.
regular meeting? Okay, yes. Thank you, Adam, and thanks for, we are, most of the commission is new, so we appreciate the patience as we go through this, and everyone's learning on the go here. So. All right. Chair report. The only thing I have to report is that we got a formal resignation letter from our Commissioner Rick Carter this week, and so I want to formally thank him for his 7 years of service. He was incredibly valuable to the rest, to myself and the rest of the commissioners in bringing his expertise, really, and teaching us a lot about the process and about what the possibilities in parks and trails and nature areas and so forth. And so I wanted to say that. And he was also, his legacy will be Big Island. He spent a lot of time on that. A lot of effort. He made that happen with some other people. And I know that he visits Big Island almost every day. And so I'm glad that that is there. And I'm sure that he will continue to reach out to staff when he sees stuff on Big Island.
Sure.
That it's hard, it's hard for staff to be out there every day. So appreciate that. So. Please reach out if you see him in passing or whatever. I'm sure that he would be happy to talk to you guys about the commission and some of the things that we're talking about tonight and so forth.
So what do we do? Is that an open seat? Or how do we?
No, he was in an alternate position, so
Yeah.
you still have 7.
So we wouldn't replace an alternate?
We have, for alternates, we normally, as we have applicants looking for a position on the commission, and we have more applicants than we have seats, we've kind of had alternates. In the past, we haven't necessarily gone out and actively recruited to have an alternates.
So I know someone who did apply for it, and I wanted to get back to them and tell them the next steps. Is that something we would do now, or wait till the appointment calendar?
Yeah, if you have somebody that's eager to participate and be part of the community, by all means.
I'll send you an email.
Yeah, send me an email.
He said did the application online, so I don't know.
We can link it up. It takes putting together some stuff and getting things before the city council, because they're the ones that
Yeah, I just want to make sure. I'll let you know so you can have feedback. Okay, thank you.
Open it up to other commissioners. Any other updates and comments?
I have a very happy update because we had a long meeting. I want to update on the Monarch Pledge. We have made 2 steps. It's definitely going to be a long-term project, so this is just the start. But one of them is that Councilmember Benson brought up last night to pass out seeds at the cleanup day, because they get between 100 and plus people coming through, and Adam thought it was doable cost-wise, and then Lisa would actually be passing them out. But it's a good opportunity to build community and talk about the Monarch Pledge, so she's going to do that this month. And then the second project is Adam, Joe, Janie, I, and Elisa met at the flagpole, because we're planning like a demonstration garden around the flagpole. So it's really 2 things. It's the beginning of the project, but it's also to show how important this is, because it's at the City Hall. And we've confirmed how it's going to be planted. Janie will take point on that in the spring, but we know it will work. We know what we're going to prep, and then we're going to put a few more pollinator plants by the monument sign, that like brick one that says police in City Hall. So more to come on that. We'll meet in the spring to figure out the planting, and then we'll sort out the volunteer coverage, so that isn't work for staff. But we do want to use the opportunity to teach staff, like here's how you take care of a pollinator garden. So thank you.
No updates.
I'll keep mine very brief, but I did visit all the parks, as we all kind of do, or the parks that I'm, I guess, assigned to, and they're all looking in good condition and things of that nature. I did kind of want to just mention to the whole group that just a small little park that I think could be a good example for future decision making is a little Livingston Park over there near Navarre. They've got Adopt a Park sign. There's a couple of folks that are maintaining that. They've got pollinator garden, nice benches. It's a really nice example on a very small scale. So I mean, I just wanted to share that with the group. That's all.
Antoine, Brian, you and I were out there with staff for a neighborhood meeting, and we got more feedback, and I think you got something scheduled, don't you, Adam, for tomorrow? I think it's tomorrow. I'll talk to, I mean, not able to make it, but we're just working with the neighborhood. It's a very neighborhood park, and it's going along fine, right? And they don't really want a whole lot done, so it makes it a little bit easier for us, but we're supposed to get together tomorrow and work through that and come up with recommendations, by next time we meet.
It was a great turnout,
Yeah.
great night, and great turnout, and Adam and Joe were there as well, and the people were really engaged. It's a strong, tight neighborhood, so it was fun.
Well-maintained neighborhood park. And the neighbors help maintain it, which is good. And there used to be an Adopt a Park family there, but that program's kind of drifted away a little bit. And I don't think that many of those people have been called recently to find out how active they still are in that. But that's one of those things I think we're going to resurrect maybe, next year? Is that what we kind of figured?
Yeah, either resurrect that or come up with something new to try and get more citizen engagement and keep an interest in the parks. Yeah, definitely. It's a really important.
Yeah. Janie and I are working on access points, updating all of that information with respect to its use and potential use and that kind of thing. She's gone to every access point already, and we've got files now established. And what we've done is we've tried to grab all of the stuff that we could get that's been done historically, because there's been a lot of phases of work that kind of ended up in their own little silo. And so we're bringing that together, and our intent is to have something available to show to the commission at our next meeting in October. So that's really about all I got. Yeah.
All right, thank you for the good meeting tonight. Both part A and part B. So, can I get a
Move to adjourn?
movement to adjourn, please?
I move so.
All
I'll
right,
second it.
all in favor?
Hi.
All right, that passes. Thank you, everyone.
I think your concerns.
Yeah.